2007, a 20-year-old American student was thrust into the international spotlight, accused of murdering her British roommate. After 4 years behind bars and a long legal battle, she was exonerated.
And now she's reclaiming her voice in the new book, Free, My Search for Meaning. And here to tell us more is New York Times bestselling author Amanda Knox. Amanda, good to see you and welcome to the studio.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about it. This is your second book. Your first book was Waiting to be Heard, which was released in 2013. Why write a second book? What else do you have to tell the world?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's such a different book, right? Like Waiting to be Heard was written while I was still in the midst of this ongoing legal crisis. And it really was a story about setting the record straight of the worst thing that ever happened to me, this trial, what was really going on. This book, Free, is a completely different story. And it's one that I feel is really important because I think that the wrongful conviction stories that you hear, typically they begin with the crime and they go to the trial and they get out of prison and then they eat their first hamburger and the end, curtain closes. But really what happens on the other side of that curtain is the story of this human being who now has to ask themselves, oh my God, now that I've proven my innocence, how do I reintegrate into the world? How do I have relationships with people? What does this mean? And the journey that I went on to find my own meaning from my own story was riddled with misadventures and mistakes and surprising revelations that have really brought me to the place of feeling finally free. Because to be clear, after getting out of prison, I was not free. So it's taken me a long time to really understand what it means to feel like you're a protagonist of your own life instead of some pawn in somebody else's game.
So two questions. Do you really feel free at this moment in your life? And what do you want readers to walk away with?
It's a great question. I do feel free. And that is in spite of the fact that I still remain wrongly convicted to this day. And not of the murder charge, thank goodness, but like of a lesser charge. And I'm still fighting to reclaim my name. I'm still living under the shadow of being the girl accused of murder. But the way that I look at it now, after all of these years and all these stories that I have to tell in my book, is that this is a box that I was put into, and I no longer have to feel like I am trapped in that box. I can use that box as a platform to tell my own story and to share my message, and that is absolutely liberating. I cannot be stopped.
I'm curious though, because you said, you were the girl who was accused of murder. So many people think they know your story, and they still think of you as that girl.
Right.
How do you move through the world trying to make sure people know what your truth is?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, one of the big things that I've had to unpack in this story is reckoning with the fact that I am the girl who was accused of murder. I never asked to be that, but I am. I also know that I am, like me, my identity is associated with the death of a friend of mine which I had nothing to do with. And so I have to accept that that is my reality. Does that mean I have to tolerate injustice? Absolutely not. But to be an effective agent in the world, to be able to really accomplish the things that I care about, I have to start from ground zero, which is accepting this reality as it is, and then taking the steps to accomplish what I need to accomplish.
You've also done extensive work with the Innocence Project.
Yes.
Do you feel like you've reached your purpose in life, unfortunately, on this journey here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up in the suburbs of Seattle where I never, ever had to think about the criminal justice system. And then I was put through this insane experience and became, for better or worse, a true crime icon. I get like it's weird. And now I've been introduced to a whole world of people who have gone through this experience who do not have their stories elevated the way mine was, because, and to be clear, it was merely because people were selling this story, this twisted story of sex and crime and women hating women. That was the product that was being sold, and that was what people consumed avidly. But like the stories of these men, predominantly men of color, who are being put through the justice system and forgotten. Like I was shocked to discover that these were my people. And so now I'm, on the board of the Innocence Center. I do a lot of work to support innocence projects and help with fundraising, and also talk to other exonerees about how they can elevate their voice and share their story in their own words. Because if you have been through a traumatic experience, whether you're a victim of crime or a victim of the criminal justice system, one of the most healing things is having a say in your own story. And so I have fought and fought to have a say in my own story. And now I know how to do it, and I can tell other people how to do it too.
Amanda, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much
Such
for
a
having
pleasure.
me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. And by the way, you can pick up a copy of Free, My Search for Meaning everywhere the books are sold, or scan the QR code at the bottom of your screen to purchase a copy. She's holding it up.
Yeah,
Go
she's
check
holding it
out.
right here for us.
My van away.
Oh, good. Thank you.